You passed your luck check. It's
the No Class RPG Live Show
with your wholesome hosts, Eddie
and Matt.
I'm alive and well tonight, Matt. How are you?
I'm fine and dandy, like cotton candy.
Well, we're glad you guys can join us again, because who wants to be lonely when you can have a fantastic internet friends like us, right, Matt?
You know it. We love all of y'all. On a piece of toast with lettuce.
Piece of toast with lettuce.
Duh.
Well, again, we're Kings of the Mountain on the Goodman Games Network. Survived our trial by fire the last show. And me and Matt had a nice chat about that last time. So I figured it'd be worth talking to you guys about. You know where I'm going with this, Matt?
No, I have no clue.
Not at all. Okay, good. So last time we were about 30 minutes before the show. We're chit-chatting, we're getting ready. And about 1 minute to the show, boom, that sudden realization hits that we're actually going to go live. So I was telling Matt, it was like riding the roller coaster that whole time. It's just going up. And then that last minute is when you finally get to the top and you look down and go whoosh. And the first 5 minutes of the show took an hour. It felt like it just lasted forever. And then when we got to the end of the show, it's like, where'd the time go? Again, like riding the roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. And just like a roller coaster, it's just over so fast. You're like, what happened? When you're having fun, But we were so tickled because I couldn't see the feed last time, and Eddie could. And so I remember thinking, well, how well did we do? I watched the next day and watched the feed, and oh man, I was just so blown away, and it really made my day. So I appreciate everybody that showed out and showed up and was active in the feed, because it really it was awesome. I appreciate everybody for that.
Yeah, it was a very warm welcome when we could come in, and I was watching the feed so I could see all my good friends right there chatting away with us. So thank you for the support. And so did you feel nervous, Matt, for the show? You can tell the truth now. I've already said I was nervous.
I'll just say I don't have enough common sense to be nervous when I probably should be.
But do you have any class?
Just a skosh.
You're supposed to have no class over here.
That's right. But no, man. Now, honestly, I really had faith that our buddies and pals would show up, and then we have new friends that showed up, which was cool.
All right. So one thing that we have talked about on the podcast many, many times is the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is where you never start to feel comfortable. And I know you don't have that. You've never walked into a room of strangers, have you?
Well, sure. But I mean, then again, that joke is, I say I've never met a stranger. So,
So I got to do some public speaking the other day that you would appreciate, talking about the imposter syndrome, and then doing stuff like this. You would think, how many of the podcasts, how much public speaking do you have to do before that goes away?
Yeah.
And one of the examples that I will always point to is Harley Stroh says he's always got that feeling. And you would think somebody of that magnitude, you're just like
caliber.
But yeah, it happens to everyone.
Yeah.
Except Matt.
Well, no, I mean, I've had some times where I've been a little nervous, but I'm blessed in that regard. But it's kind of like I told Gary a while back, we've been doing this crap for 40 years by now. Hopefully you should know what you're doing, or be a little comfortable in your own skin when you're doing it,
I don't know. I think it'll always be there. So I will turn this over to the audience for you guys to kick in. Do you ever have that feeling before you run a game or anything like that? I don't know why. Sometimes it'll affect me more than others. And I've run enough like con games and demo games and roadworthy or road crew games where it's like, you should be used to it completely now. There should be no nerves left to get out, but here we are.
And you've ran for people that were important people, or in the hobby or hoi polloi, whatever, something. So yeah,
Your mom gives me rain, says you just have to not give a crap.
And I think that's probably where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Darkwater GM stage fright every time. So see, people like the two of us, me and Darkwater GM, Sky 2, we care. We're out there to entertain you people. We want to give you the best product every time, unlike some people that don't care.
Right, right.
Well, speaking of this, I like my little joke that I made the other day about this show is going to get better every time. So you better watch now before it gets too good for you. You wouldn't want, have to put your pinky out when you watch it.
Both of them.
Anyway, guys, thank you for the fantastic turnout the last show. Anyway you slice it, it was a triumph. We got our numbers back, and I think the live stream, we might have had up to about 50 viewers at one time, which is really good for us and really good for the channel. I don't know if you had heard this, Matt, but we got some information back on our demographics.
Uh-oh.
About 50% of the people watching us were new to the channel, are cool cats, and 50% were returning viewers to the channel.
Oh, wow.
We had a pretty good sized female viewership. Hello, ladies. Hi, Mom. The thing was that interested us the most, I think, is that our viewers tended to be more attractive and intelligent compared to non-viewers. The viewer information we got said it was the most good-looking audience in Twitch history. So keep it up. Congratulations to you guys. The more devices you watch this on, the better it gets. I recommend you use at least 3 different viewing devices and 3 different accounts, because you got to give Matt his own screen, you got to give me a screen, and then you need one for the whole effect.
Yeah.
All right, long con. You got anything you need to say about it? And I'll look at the chat.
Well, with the long con, it's coming up in November. It's 11, 12, 13. We're shooting for bigger numbers this year. And I know we can do it. I know we're going to do it. We've all added some new games today. More games are being added all the time. We're going to have a lot of games. Oh, some of the people that have already signed up to run games are very talented people that have, run for us before. And so it's very exciting. I guess everyone knows by now our show, we've got a new venue. They're very excited to have us. I really have a good feeling about how we and our guests are going to be treated this year at the new venue. So I'm really excited about it. A lot of good energy, so yeah, can't wait for LongCon.
All right. As we discussed last time, I did reach out and invite Mike Evans.
Really?
But there's no way he can make it.
Oh.
Shoot that down for you right now.
Yeah.
He said he'd like to come, but his schedule is just not going to make it where he can, and we already knew that.
Yeah. But there's always an open invitation there, because we think Mike's stuff is awesome.
And we've tried to invite Reed many times.
Oh, yeah.
America.
Yeah.
But his schedule doesn't usually work out, but always an open invite to him, puts peer pressure on him.
And talking about Reed, he's been having some health issues, which this isn't anything I'm talking out of school. And we've been kind of keeping a monitor on that. And hopefully he's doing better and he's on the mend, as far as I know he is. But we've got our fingers crossed, and our thoughts are with Reed, and hope he gets better and better.
Yeah. So I guess we will have to make do with our buddy David Beatty, Weird Uncle Brendan. Nothing to sneeze at there.
Right.
Following us up will be the Brinkmans. Feel free to try to pressure them into it.
Right.
Why wouldn't you? That's what I would say. Peer pressure everyone at all times.
Well, Harley Stroh mentioned this on Twitter, which was pretty awesome. And he was kind of talking like, so who knows? That would be quite the coup, if we were to get Harley.
It would be fantastic to get a good DCC, MCC, Goodman Games turnout, because we're part of the family now.
Yeah, that's right.
In there.
Exactly. We're like they're weird cousins, kind of that one part of the family tree, you don't talk about.
And more on the long con, swag ideas. We've done dice bags. We've done dice. We've done drink koozies. We need your wonderful ideas if you have them. So feel free to make suggestions in the chat. Lamborghinis, why not? I'm sure we'll have that money to throw around.
Magnets. We've done magnets before. We could do that again. Good idea.
Magnets?
Yeah, we did the long time. They're on my fridge.
But was that one of the big swag prizes?
No, I made them for me.
Along with the dice or something.
Made them for me, you know. Yes, indeed.
Magnets, how do they work?
I'm not entirely sure. It's magic.
Table flags, maps,
Mm,
fun tables. There's not going to be any fun tables at the long con. Your mom gives
no.
me rain. Sorry.
Sorry, no fun allowed.
Ink blot. We did look into dice trays, but they were super expensive.
Yeah.
But maybe seeing how it goes, if we have more of a bulk order this year, that might help.
Yeah.
Oh, shoehorns.
Okay.
5G blocking pendants and essential oils.
Ooh, essential oils.
How you guys are thinking.
I like it. I like it.
Just make sure it's something that we can put our logo on. So every
Right.
time you use it, you'll think of us. And I just had a great idea, but I am not allowed to say such things on the show.
What say that for the podcast?
Exactly.
Right.
Unfiltered podcast to hear what we couldn't say.
It's a little more blue, we'll say. So, yeah.
Your mom gives me rain, as also his mom gave us some games today too. So a couple of more new games hitting the board. More Goodman games fun for you.
Yeah, I saw those added. Good work, homie.
Well, once we're done plugging the long con, we can plug NTRPG con.
I was waiting for that. Yep.
Here's your moment to shine. Shine away.
Well, so it kind of I think last time we tried to harken back to our first podcast a little bit. Well, harkening back to our second podcast, we did talk about NTRPG a bit. That was really the influence for us to have the hubris to think we should do a con of our own. Was we'd been many times in NTRPG and have so much fun there. We've made so many good friends there. And so we thought we want to keep this good energy going more than once a year. So that was kind of the inspiration for the long con. So we owe a lot to Doug and Mike and Gary and Brian and all that bunch for inspiring us and giving us a lot of good advice and a lot of help along the way. And so, yeah, we always look forward to NTRPG. That's one of the highlights of my year. It's like as an adult, that's my Christmas anymore because there's so many good friends there and a lot of good energy, a lot of fun. And we're already looking forward to it. It's going to be here before we know it, And if you've never been, I highly suggest it. The good thing is that's a con that gets a lot of love for Goodman Games products. I know one year, I swear it felt like half the games were MCC, DCC, America, Starcrawl, whatever. I might be exaggerating slightly, which I never do. But anyway.
That year, I had actually gone into the game schedule and counted it up that they had probably more Goodman stuff than they had 5th edition, there's a lot of 5th edition there too. So if that turns you on or off, if you wanted to play old school stuff all weekend, you can, but if you're 5th edition all the way, you'll be happy all weekend too.
Yeah. It's tradition, old school con, but they've got a lot of the new school stuff, But I know this year I'm running, I always do a tournament on Fridays at Archon, Long Con, and at NTRPG. And this year I'm doing something new. It's Mega Mutant Mayhem, and it's going to be in America, my East Texas wastelands. And that's going to be Friday. And then on Saturday morning, I'm doing Caverns, which as God is my witness, I will have that ready for production ASAP. But I'm going to be running that. And
man.
Yeah. And on Thursday, I'm running for our good friend Levi Combs, the Jungle Tomb of the Mummy Bride. He had asked me to run that, and Levi's a pal, least I could do. And I guess while I'm mentioning Levi, I should mention that I think it was today he started a new Kickstarter for his Vulgar Display of Magic, which is OSR magazine, of crunchy, cool, old school magic stuff,
For example.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you will highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Well, because I own a lot of his other stuff, and I know Levi and the caliber of his work, and I've seen some images from it, and it looks really, the art, if nothing else, is gorgeous. And I don't think any of his zines have missed the mark yet. So,
Boom, and there's the Kickstarter link.
Sweet. There you go. Someone's talented. But anyway, what else would you add, or what are you running this year at NTRPG, Mr. Eddie?
What am I running? I always have to run Lamentations, and I think, which one am I running? Am I running Grinding Gear? I think that's the one.
Yeah, I think so.
There's like 3 of them that I rotate around that are the big hits, and those are the ones for people who want to die.
Yeah.
It's like try to survive, but at the end, it's going to be a TPK. Yeah. I will collect your tears.
Eddie is the hanging judge, and he has his group of masochists that love it. So,
And on the flip side, is my redemption is Barbarians of the Ruined Earth, where if you manage to die,
it's your fault.
Like my tears, because no one's managed to do it yet. There's been some good tries lately.
Yeah.
And so for that, I just made up, and this is still kind of a work in progress for the Barbarians. I go off the cuff quite a bit, just what's spur of the moment. But for this one, I think what might be involved in it is the East Texas Treasure Train.
Oh my.
Which is a Vault of the Ancients, which is on kind of a hover train. So it's always in motion. That was the way of keeping it safe. So first you'd have to get on it, and then you'd have to figure out how do you loot this thing. So I've done a little tiny bit of play testing with it, and so far so good, but might be a few more things I want to flesh out.
Well, that's awesome. We really didn't put into to play a lot. We're running way more than we're playing this year because we've got some good friends that attend. We're hoping to spend time with them and hoping to have some pickup games. And I know that the Dallas DCC group is talking about doing some off-schedule games. So if you're coming to NTRPG, and why aren't you, and you're looking for maybe a DCC type pickup game, come around to our table and talk to us. We'll see if maybe we can't get you in. We might have the end for you,
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. And definitely, as we've said a million times on the podcast, the very first one that we went to and we didn't have anything on the schedule was probably the most fun that we ever had, just drifting in and finding what we could. So if you haven't been able to sign up for games, I would still say check it out.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of the fun we had was the very first time we went when the hook was set, and we were just walk-ups, and we had a ton of fun, a lot of great memories. So that's one of those cons that you can always find some pickup games, and and you'll be pleasantly surprised by these pickup games. Like, again, one of the most fun games we was just joined on a lark, and he's now our good friend Chris Clark. We played his game, and it's one of the most memorable role-playing games I've ever played in. So yeah, I mean, and that was an NTRPG.
So another thing for NTRPG for you guys to keep in mind, if you are going, you might want to purchase yourself a fine Long Con t-shirt, because if you wear it on Saturday, our spies will be out looking, and if you're wearing a shirt, you could get a cool prize.
Yes, indeed. We have acquired some swagalicious swag that we're going to be dispensing to the folks that we see wearing Long Con attire on Saturday. So we might even have a little discount code or something. Who knows,
Ron says, hey, looking good. So I'm assuming he's talking to me.
But anyway.
But he is one of the folks that has approached me. You would not believe the number of people that are asking with fear in their voices, will the podcast continue? And I think it would be so secretly cruel of us if we didn't tell them that, yeah, we're going to keep the podcast going. This is not going to replace it. We can't get canceled off of our podcast.
But we're working on it.
There is some tragic news because our podcast runs off of Sunbird Barbecue.
Yeah.
And they've shut down for the future. They're going to be doing some pop-up stuff here and there, but that's how we get all amped up for the podcast. Yeah. And now without that quick, nutritious energy of 2 pounds of barbecue, I don't know how we're going to spring to life for it.
Our engines are fueled by cholesterol.
The worse we treat our bodies, the better it is for the listener.
That's right.
Viewers.
We torture ourselves for you. our bodies.
The format for the podcast is more of a long form, and we're going to try and keep this stuff on here bite-sized. We know that people are coming into the stream at different times, so every 5 minutes you have to go, what were they talking about? What's going on? So we're trying to keep it moving along so it's not taking forever. Keep it snappy. Take advantage of the fact that you guys can chat back with us. So if you have any ideas to improve the show, make it different from the podcast, let us know.
Yeah.
We love your feedback. Matt, what's that email address they can catch us at?
The No Class RPG Podcast at gmail.com.
Yep. Just remember, there is no "the" in the No Class RPG Podcast.
No Class RPG Podcast at gmail.com. Love your feedback. Love your questions. We've got a question for our next podcast. Somebody asked us, and I've been working on the answer, ciphering.
Wow. Well, we had another one come in today as I was verifying the email address.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they had followed you over from the This Old Dungeon podcast and really enjoyed that. But that if you don't put beans in your chili, you're messing up.
Man, just don't lie on folks. Don't lie. Don't tell your lies.
So we'll have a question from him for the podcast, and we should be recording that podcast on
Thursday.
Yep.
Even though we might be barbecue deficient, so we might be lacking a little bit of quality. I hope not. We'll see. You be the judge.
All right. One of the ways we're trying to make this different is skipping out on the pop culture section.
Yeah.
For the podcast listeners, that means the books, movies, and TV. But since it's the second episode already, I feel like I could break the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about some comic books.
Oh, my.
And I'm going to give you a chance to lead this off since you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about the Headlopper with our hero, the Headlopper, Norgal, and the nagging severed head of Agatha Blue Witch.
Mm-hmm.
The writer and artist is Andrew McLean.
Mm-hmm.
They come out slow, but they're worth the wait.
4 per year, so 1 per quarter. Yeah, but they're a little bigger, and they're just I love the artwork. I love the style. I love the story. They're really great, and they're great inspiration for fantasy, gaming and whatnot. There's some neat content in there. But yeah, I've enjoyed those a lot. I know that I'm the one. Oddly enough, Eddie's the comic guy, but I introduced him to Headlopper, so that's kind of ironic. It's
fantastic. It's very what is it? Samurai Jack looking with the art, I would say.
Or even, some people would disagree, but maybe even a little bit reminiscent of who's the guy that does Hellboy?
Mike
Magnolia, anyway.
I want to say Magnolia, but that's not it, but it's close. The chat knows.
Yeah. Mike Manola, something I can't remember. But yeah, no, totally. Anyway, the artwork's really neat, the style, and like the stories are really, really good. It's ironic you should mention that because I just reread like the first 8 about a week ago. So wow, what are the odds? That's how good they are. They're worth. I go back and reread them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So here's one that I've told you about, Matt, but I have not told the listening audience. I've actually held this back from the podcast until we had this big, massive DCC forum that we could talk about, because I don't even think this has hit the DCC world. Do you know which one I'm going to talk about?
No.
Rage More.
Oh.
You know how much I love Rage More.
Yeah.
So that's DCC to me in a comic with a sprinkle of Cthulhu. Loves a deadly weapon when there's a living castle nurtured on pagan blood, harborer of deadly monsters. A fortress possessed of its own will and the ability to change itself with the power to add and destroy rooms and grow without the help of any human hand. Its owner is mad with jealousy. Its servants aren't human, and its secrets are horrific. So that is the Gonzo Jam that you need in your life. It is 4 issues long, but it will give you a ton of inspiration for your game. Written by Jan Strnad and artist Richard Corbin. But I can't say enough great things about that. And that really brings it into the Gonzo world.
Now, what's ironic about that? Remember on the podcast, I was just talking about reading Mutant World and Son of Mutant World. And so the art was by Richard Corbin, but do you know who wrote those?
Yeah, same
Jan,
guy.
yeah, I think the same guy, I think.
I think we're on good enough terms with him now that we can just call him Jan.
We'll just say Jan. But yeah, so apparently he's a brilliant writer, you know.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And I mean, I guess like a 4-issue limited series is almost like the one shot of the comic book world, if you want to put it to that. And it's just fantastic. I can't think of a way that you could do it better. What more could you jam in there in just 4 issues?
Yeah.
Great.
Well, thanks for sharing that with us, man. So did you have a box or something?
No, I've got one more for you.
Uh-oh.
Still in the long box for comics.
Mm.
Barbarian Lord. This one I got to turn you on to too. I've already told you about Rage More, but this one's brand new even to you.
Oh.
Barbarian Lord, artist and writer Matt Smith. So it's another one where it's the same guy.
Yeah.
Take 80s cartoons, Nordic folk tales, throw it all in a blender. The Barbarian Lord fights with his fists and his words. And it's very Conan-esque. He's going to crack some skulls, but he's also quick-witted. So this is one, it's kind of like Beowulf or something like that, where you have to go prove yourself to the chieftain. So he goes out, he does his quest, he comes back, and then he's challenged to a war of words. Somebody's trying to show him up and kind of be like, I can speak better than you, my tales and stuff. So let me give you
Scald.
Yeah, exactly. So let me give you a little taste of this.
Okay.
From the ghoul's frozen hall I come, returning the stolen shield breaker. Now, the veteran of larder raids would challenge me with words. Bane of the biscuit, tyrant of the trencher, he slays one course and then another. The scourge of the sweets subdues half the cook's realm. Wolf of the ham plate, raven of the soup bowl, ventures bravely into the kitchen god's den. Come on, man. How can you not like that?
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
So it's kind of like a Schmack Talk Def Jam, you know, but ye old. I like it.
Yeah. So that's really good. It's fairly short. It'll probably take you about 30 minutes to read the whole thing, but then you'll turn around and read it again.
Yeah.
Highly, highly recommended. You can't go wrong with those picks.
Cool.
And if you're always searching for game inspiration like me, it'll help you out. Some good stuff to rip off.
Yeah. I see someone mentioned The Last Ronin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good one. Yeah. So that's cool.
And as for Berserk, I think that one, I can't remember if that's like a Shonen Jump or something like that. But we will soon see. But we have another good question for you. We wanted to talk about game stores while we're at.
Oh, wow.
Because I get those questions a lot, and it'll be totally out of our area. It'll be like, what's a good game store in Dallas?
Yeah.
So I know we've got some of that crew here.
Yeah.
If you guys want to give us some shout outs,
I know
people, and wherever you are in the world,
yeah,
there could be somebody watching in your neighborhood. So go ahead and shout it out.
Yeah. I know that one time, and what a great bunch of guys, the Dallas DCC crew was going to come to town and they were going to host a game for me. It was really nice, but sadly that fell through. But I'm trying to remember the game store they were going to host it at. And the name's on the tip of my tongue, but that's one I think they're big fans of. So, yeah. But I know like locally, we're really fond of the Dragon's Den in Kilgore, great bunch of folks, and they're moving to a bigger, nicer location. And, you know, I don't know if it's a big secret, but we might be moving our club there or whatever. So that's cool. We're excited about that.
Give Geek World a shout out that they are starting to open up their play area again. It's been the time of the COVID. And they are finally starting to open back up again.
Yeah.
So
he's a great guy. And the Geek World is a really neat store. It's got a lot of game tables and a lot of cool stuff. And Mark's just one of the nicest people. And so I'm glad to see they're reopening it to the public.
And that's Tyler, Texas, in case we didn't say.
Yeah.
We've got Etten Games recommended to you down in Humble, Texas. It looks like humble, but don't let the H fool you.
Yeah.
Because
And
if you go there
again,
and say humble, they'll beat you.
yeah, I can only hope. But that we've been there, great game store, spacious. People were playing a lot of cool games in there. The staff were very knowledgeable, and anytime I've dote on that. If I go to a game store, you got people behind the counter that don't know what that these people were very knowledgeable at games. So I was just really blown away. I was impressed when we went there.
Yeah. Madness and Common Grounds in Dallas both get a shout out.
Those are the names I remember. Yep.
Them. Gamescape North in San Rafael, Gamescape San Francisco, and Games of Berkeley. Nice. In the Bay Area, nationwide. Yeah.
Well, thanks for those shout outs and to mention those. Good. Yeah, like your friendly local game store deserves a shout out. And, you know, and without these games, we don't promote these game stores and spend our money there, they're going to go away. That's how that works. So definitely the good ones deserve a shout out. Thank you.
Yeah, and networking too, because we can always go back and take these comments and put them down somewhere, write it down and go, hey, if you're looking for a good, friendly game store, these are the ones that some of our DCC Goodman Games crowd will recommend to you.
The faithful.
Yeah. All right. You said something about a box?
Yeah, something about there was a box. I'm the man in the box.
This will blink out in and out of reality for you.
Oh wow, that's like a magic box.
But let's see if we can get a link for this one. This is the MCC. I'm trying to think of the exact right name. It's either the first time kit
or like the newbie kit.
I want to say the DCC might be starter kit, and this is first timers kit. Just when you go to look it up.
Yeah.
And this great value.
What?
$30.
What value? But yeah, definitely Eddie already owns a lot of good DCC stuff. I guess he's stocking up, getting his MCC stuff going, getting that jam on.
Well, I don't have to tell you guys because you already know. How much does a set of DCC dice cost?
$30.
How much does this whole box cost?
How much?
$30.
How much?
$30.
Wow.
It comes
worth
with
it just
dice.
That's amazing.
So I probably own everything in here already, but it's like, hey, if you buy some dice, we'll throw in lots of free goodies.
Cool.
So, open this thing up, y'all. See what I got and kind of show it off to you guys. See if you think this is cool or not, if this is something we should do in the future. I don't remember ordering this. I think it's got some pizza grease on it or something. Envelope.
What? Aw.
Read that or if it'll fade out of real. Thanks so much. All right. Thanks so much for everything you've done. Love, Joe G.
Oh wow. What a guy.
I'm not sure who that would be, but
yeah,
okay.
But, I mean, we can only assume.
I mean, we will be running a game from his kitchen table soon enough.
That's
or
true.
Actually doing a cast from his kitchen table.
Podcast there, yeah. But probably while I'm making him breakfast or something, yeah.
They carefully put all this stuff aside. Yeah, it's a killer deal. And I apologize for all this scritching and scratching, guys.
Come on, Eddie.
I just wanted to let you know this hasn't been tampered with in any way. This was all stuff that was in there. Here's some stuff you guys really might want to see. This is new Road Crew swag.
Oh, cool.
So somebody smarter than me can say which one of these is for game 1.
Oh, that's cool.
And which one is for game 3, because I went ahead and got both of those. Yeah, the wonderful pins.
Nice.
Pencils.
Yeah, I've been running games at the club and I haven't put in for swag. I'm gonna get off my duff and put in for swag because I love giving swag away. Love giving it away. Okay. Give it away, give it away, give it away now.
I've got some of the gazettes in here.
Nice.
And actually, I ordered a bunch of these before because they have really good articles. So I think I own all the gazettes unless some's come out pretty recently.
I'd given him quite a few that I got when I've ordered so much stuff.
And this is the MCC starter kit. So the judge's screen.
Hold it. There you go.
All of this just wants to fade out on me, but Judge's Screen,
Cool.
Warlords of Atos.
Dun, dun, dun.
So you get a free adventure.
Cool.
This must be the game 3 stuff, I'm guessing. That these are the folders.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, neat. Oh, sexy. It's got Shauna. Nice.
These will be the cool dice that I get into now.
Yeah. Oh, so are they like the neon green or glow in the dark or something?
I think this is the Cedricin set.
Oh, okay, never mind.
That could just be a placeholder and I could get what I get. Yep. Cedricins.
Cool.
These are really kind of cool mixed set.
Yeah. So there's an interesting story. A few years back, the I think it was the Cedricin dice got dropped over in the warehouse in production in China or something. So people were getting sets of the dice that didn't have like one of everything necessarily in it, because when the thing fell off the forklift and broke, these people in China just randomly scooped up dice and stuck them back in the tube. But how awesome is Goodman Games that when people reached out and said, hey, I didn't get a full set, Goodman Games jumped in super fast and sent out, you know, a proper set of those dice if you didn't get a tube that had one of everything. So interesting little story.
Keep in mind, this costs $30. All that other stuff is add-on. So I, again, give you the highly recommended. Highly recommended, right?
Right. Heck yeah. Steal of a deal.
I keep buying that stuff. Like I bought the DCC starter kit too when it came out because it's just such a good deal. That's stuff that I can give somebody as a nice little gift. It keeps dice for myself.
Do we ever give stuff away, Eddie?
Once or twice. Once or twice we've been known to.
Yeah. We love to give stuff away. So that's kind of part of the fun of road crewing. You know, we both were roadworthy back some years ago because for me, half the fun of running these games, I love giving swag away. And that's what's cool. Who does that? Nobody that I know, but Goodman Games gives you a lot of cool stuff to give to people that show up to play games. I love that. You know, that's just cool.
All right. So as promised, we're going to talk about some post-apocalyptic settings.
Uh-oh.
So what are some that you enjoy? What are some things that have influenced your post-apoc game?
So as far as me, you know, like we talked about Corbin and, you know, like in the heavy metal movie, Den, Mutant World, Son of Mutant World, that's just a really neat influence, the artistic style and everything. As a kid, like I literally wore out a copy of The Road Warrior I had on VHS. Just loved that movie and watched it, like I said, till the tape fell apart. So, and then of course, you know, Thundar the Barbarian, you know, I watched that when it was brand new as a kid, and there's just so much crazy gonzo, you know, what is it? Alligator men on motorcycles. Come on, dude. You know, I mean, so magic and high tech wizardry and stuff, you know, there's a lot of, I remember playing Gamma World as a kid, you know, James Ward's contribution, you know, to gaming, one of many, and love me some Gamma World. And so, and played that again as a kid, probably 83 was when I picked that up and just played a ton of that in the summers we were out of school. So yeah, just a lot of different influences. What about you, man?
I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't think you think about post-apoc with fantasy settings. Like the one that we played together that was kind of a shared world, that was post-apoc because they'd had a disaster and they were trapped in this other world.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, you know, one time on the podcast, we talked about technically, if you ask some people, old school D&D was post-apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
And because one of the things is in the world of Greyhawk, there were two powerful societies that had like grown to the apex of magical power, but they had a war. Sound familiar? And they launched these very incredibly powerful spells and rituals, and it wiped out one of the societies, and the other one, it turned their beautiful utopian realm into just a great big desert. I mean, it just, you know, so what does that kind of sound more like? Nuclear exchange or something. And so kind of society was clawing its way back, and that explained these abandoned ruins and whatnot and stuff, because that's from these previous societies. And you would find this magical lore and magic items that were like, oh, this is so cool. Well, why isn't somebody creating stuff like this? Because it's like lost knowledge from this previous highly advanced, magically advanced society. So, you know, even fantasy can kind of be post-apoc. Yeah.
So I've got some fantasy or post-apoc world, should I say, that you may or may not. Some of these will be really obvious, but I think some of them make you stop and think, I never really thought of that, but it's a post-apoc and how it could affect things you could bring into your world and inspire your game. Matrix, Pacific Rim, giant monsters attacking. That's one thing that I've always wanted to put into a game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love Vampire Hunter D, which is the post-apoc. It's actually 2 times post-apocalypse because they've had 2 major things go on.
Wow.
I think you probably said Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
Escape from New York.
Oh yeah, love that movie.
And then on a limited scale, I don't think you know about this, but maybe some of the viewers will. Attack on Titan.
I'm familiar, but
the anime and the manga.
Yeah.
So all these titans are attacking them in this one island, and spoilers, they think that's the whole world, but it's actually just this one island. It's kind of roughly like if you lived on Monster Island and you didn't know there was anything else, you'd think this must be some kind of post-apocalyptic world. So you could have it where the apocalypse has only happened that affects one place. And in a way, thinking about this, you could have it where the post-apocalyptic thing has only happened to one person. Think about Superman. Superman's kind of post-apocalyptic for Superman, right? Isn't everything that he does on Earth? Because his planet's been destroyed.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near his technology, so he's not in a post-apocalyptic world, but it's a post-apocalyptic adventure, I think you could say.
Yeah.
Yes? No, maybe. We'll see if that one gets shouted down.
Yeah.
You've got V for Vendetta, this dystopian future. That's cool. Walking Dead, Why the Last Man, which is where only men have been affected in that apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite, Rock and Rule.
Yep.
The Land Before Time.
Yeah.
It's the apocalypse for the dinosaurs.
What's the movie where like women aren't giving birth to children anymore? Children of what is it? It's got the British guy in it, and he finds the one woman that can have a viable child. Anyway, that's kind of dystopian.
Well, the good thing about that is somebody in the chat, Children of Men.
Children of Men, thank you.
Boom,
there you
just
go.
like that.
Good work. Yeah. So technically, even that kind of fits in there somewhere.
Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
Dark Crystal.
Cyborg.
Reign of Fire.
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica. So you could have your post-apocalyptic be in a sci-fi world. Robotech, Radar for Love, Weird Frontiers.
Yeah.
You ever think about that?
Yeah.
That's a post-apocalypse in the Wild West.
Yeah. And if you carried it forward,
Dark Souls, the video game. Tokyo Jungle, the video game.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure if we've talked about that one before, but that's where in Tokyo Jungle, highly recommend that to you too. It is a PS3 game, however you can find it now, where all the humans have died from some virus or such, and only the animals are left. So you play as, say, a Pomeranian trying to get through the city of Tokyo as it's getting grown over by vines, and all of the creatures have escaped from the zoo. So, I mean, tigers will hunt you in the streets. So that's a pretty cool one, but it's just different ways of looking at post-apoc.
Yeah. There's a show that's currently on Netflix that's got a couple of seasons. It's Kubo and the Time of the Wonder Beasts, I think, but that one's kind of young adult, but it's got some neat stuff, and it's got some silliness, but it's like, what YT or whatever they call it, but that one's pretty good, All
right. Well, we have a short amount of time to get the rest of this in, so let's see how far we can get. Let's talk about the picks of the month.
Okay.
The DCC pick of the month is
The Shambling Undead.
Written by
a bevy. It was Wampler,
Jim Wampler, Bob Brinkman, David Beatty, Stephen Newton, Jeffrey Tadlock, and Daniel J. Bishop.
And what a list of very incredibly talented individuals. So, ooh la la. And it's my favorite price because you can get that free from the Goodman Games website. How benevolent of them to not even charge for something that's awesome.
Yeah, that one's fantastic. For me, that is my go-to funnel. That's the one I run all the time. One of the things I like about it is you can go anywhere from, say, 2 to 6 hours. Whatever amount of time you have to fill, this can fill it. You can mix and match. And that's another thing I love too, because the Dark Trails, Death Travels West, Death Rides West, that's similar, like where you can pick and choose. Like I'm going to take adventure A, C, and E and string that together for the amount of time that I have. So
whichever one tickles your fancy, you know.
Yeah. The ones that tickle my fancy are, this is what I run if I have about a 4-hour slot. I run the intro, of course, which that one's by Wampler. I do You Only Move the Headstones, Bob Brinkman's, Wormtooth Abbey, Beatty, and that's the cream of the cream. That's just the best. That one's worth the price of admission, even if the admission's free, right?
Yeah.
And then Stinking Sewers by Daniel Bishop to shut it down. But there are other paths, and that's one of the things that makes it cool, because I can go in and go, did I run this for you guys already? Okay, I can run it again because you're just going to see the stuff you didn't see before. So that's one of the really cool things about it. Yeah. Highly recommended, and you can't beat the price, right?
Right.
What do you have for an MCC module for us?
Well, excuse me if I diverge a little. It's still in the Goodman Games family, but ironically enough, on the Facebook page for American Wastelands, well, of course, everyone loves Carnage in the Casino, which is for MCC, but easily compatible with America. But somebody on there was talking about Killer of Giants. And that's one I ran at a couple of cons, Long Con and NTRPG. Got really good responses both times. I hope I don't slaughter his name, but Forrest Aguirre wrote that. And it's just a lot of fun. I asked him about if he had any anecdotes about it. And he said, all I can say is every time he ran it, people had to touch the button. I won't say anything more, but yeah, every time I ran it, so, thankfully as a game master, this is stuff that's fun for us. Some goofball had to touch that button. And if you know what the term Killer of Giants means, you might understand what I'm talking about, that button, you know. But it's a great adventure. Get your hands on it. It's great for America. And actually, it's easily compatible with MCC as well, because, you know, they share a lot of the same mechanics or whatever. So I could recommend that highly for either one.
All right. The fifth edition fantasy that I'm going to pick for you guys is number 14, Beneath the Keep by Chris Doyle. That one we've played. I've run it for you. I've run that one several times. That I run a lot if I have to do 5th edition intro or something like that, or starting a campaign. That's one that I use. The beginning of it has good interaction with NPCs. It's got a lot of the basics, like there's a lock you can pick at the very beginning. Okay, this is how you would pick a lock. You can investigate and detect and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of the basic concepts that you get to introduce. There's a fight relatively fast in it. So that's one of those things you want to grab people's attention and hold it. I think you would probably remember the Lich in the module.
Oh, yeah.
Alert. And that's a first level module. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
So that's a little twist for you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a little stylized thing, because how would first level characters know?
Yeah, but that's where that's an old school concept of not like worrying about, well, we'll put something in here that would just outright wipe the characters out. Well, they should have enough sense to know not to attack or fight thing X. If they don't, this will be a good lesson for them, that you don't attack everything you see, you know.
Well, speaking of something that will wipe the party out that you guys really loved in a horrible way, was the Ghoul Sturges. Let that one sink into your soul right there. Everybody loves Sturges already, the little bat birds drinking your blood. Imagine if they paralyzed you when they bit you. So like I said, these are 5th edition, but they ain't Candyland, and they will bring you that old school D&D or DCC style pain train.
Yeah, that's what we've talked about. That's really where Goodman Games shines, is just the modules, whatever they're written for, are just the creme de la creme, you know, more times than not.
All right, moving right along. We could do this all night, but we want to talk about podcast number 2, A Tale of Two Cons, which took us exactly 29 minutes and 3 seconds to discuss back in those days.
Yeah.
And this is our most popular episode. That's the one that people listen to the most, even more than the first one.
Wow. Did not know that.
In that, we talked about our con experiences, and you talked a lot about your favorite, Living Greyhawk.
Living Greyhawk, yeah. But I know we were talking about Red River, and what I thought was funny, I went back and re-listened to that. And at that time, we sounded so optimistic. The tone was like, well, probably Red River is going to take off and do so well. We'll probably shut Long Con down or minimize it. And our big thing will be Red River. Oh, it's going to take off and do so good, you know.
But keep in mind, you may have to go back and re-listen. We never said anything about shutting the Long Con down.
Oh, no. I mean, you even said.
In fact, I said, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like we would pull back to doing it in one little room somewhere in a suite at the hotel. It would never go away, but that the Red River was going to be our big ooh la la. And boy, you know, yeah.
I think even if this flops horribly, or if we get tired of doing it, we still might have something that we do with 5 or 10 people and go call it the Long Con and have our fond remembrances.
At the end of the day, I mean, Long Con's done really well and it's doing better and better, and I'm happy for that, you know. And you know, I have a lot of fondness for the Long Con, and I wish Red River had taken off, but it just wasn't to be. It might have been just timing. Well, and all they were saying, location, you know.
All right, trying to stay ahead of the clock here.
Right.
One of the cool things that we mentioned about going to cons was learning new tricks.
Absolutely. And that was one of those things that, you know, going to new conventions, because back in the Living Greyhawk days, 3.5 D&D, there was a Living Greyhawk campaign, a game con going on somewhere in the United States and in the world every weekend practically. I mean, it was so prevalent, which is really a shame to see that gone. But I can remember going to these conventions and people would cast a spell or use an item in a way you never thought of. And you'd go, is that legal? And they'd be like, oh yeah, you know, and I'd bring it home and just blow everybody's minds, you know, and because it was some unique, interesting twist on a spell and a creative, you know, way you never thought of. Yeah. So that's one thing that cons are good for, you know, is new ideas, new concepts, you know. Yeah.
We talked about going to the Robert E. Howard Museum, and now we are celebrating 40 years of the movie. So
yeah,
that was cool. And I highly recommend that to you guys. I'm highly recommending everything tonight. But if you get a chance to go down there and check out, you might want to skip the Conan days, Robert E. Howard days, the actual one that happens in like July.
Yeah. July in Texas. No.
Yeah, and that's a very small town, and it'll be hard to find some air conditioning.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind if you want to check it out.
Yeah.
We talked about, and no one ever had this idea before. We came up with this 3 years ago of doing an Appendix N book club.
Yeah.
And we really took that and ran with it and made it our own thing. That's probably what we're best known for today.
Dropped the ball. Oh man. It's a great idea, but you know.
Yeah. We talked about the search for a closing line, bringing us to that right now. The search for a closing line. Do you remember on what you said on that one?
Oh, I haven't listened to it today, but it was something just like, you know, have fun and roll dice or some crap.
Yeah. The one that I tried out was, may all your dice rolls be hot.
Hot. Yeah. We were still finding our way in those early ones. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me go ahead and give you our famous outro line right now, because I know the tears are falling, but we've got to say goodbye. Yeah. And I can see by that clock on the wall, we're all out of hit points.
Ah,